Hi, YouTube. Okay, we're trying another one of these live feed podcasts. And of course, the second one that I'm doing is in a totally different location. So we're just going to play around. Welcome to the guest room. We're so excited you're here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the recording started. But thank you as always for watching on YouTube. It means so much that people watched the first one. I was plumb tickled. I didn't mention this before, but if you are watching on YouTube and you have topics that you'd want me to cover, if you have questions about fitness, nutrition, menopause, etc., drop them in the comments and I will absolutely love to do an episode on them because chances are if you're thinking it, someone else is too. So please definitely reach out in the comments. I love to get that feedback. And without further ado, I'm going to take a sip of coffee and then we're going to record this podcast. Real good. Thank you for being here. Let's party, shall we? Okay. Hello, and welcome to Fit After 40 Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, and a very happy holiday season to all of you. Holy guacamole, I cannot believe that we are suddenly somehow in very deep into November. I was going to say suddenly in November, but it's the 26th. So we are not suddenly in November. We're very steadily going through November. If you are in USA and you are celebrating Thanksgiving, that is tomorrow. So happy Gobble Day to you. I, of course, was inspired to do this episode because the holidays are among us. And a lot of times when we are prepping for the holidays, especially for people who are newer to fitness or newly back, these can kind of feel like uncertain times. It can feel kind of like, oh my gosh, I was just starting to get my footing under me. And now I'm really worried about how the holidays are going to throw a kink in my schedule. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to stay healthy, stay consistent, et cetera, et cetera. It's something that I get a lot from clients, especially newer clients, as they come up on their holiday. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, I did take this on the road. I wasn't, and it was sort of a last minute travel. I wasn't intending to do a podcast this way, but I'm using different equipment today. So apologies if the recording does sound different, if there's a little bit more ambiance going on. Like I said, I don't have my normal mic set up. So, yay for kind of one of the big themes of today, which is just allowing ourselves to roll with the punches in order to be with people we love. So, first things first, wherever you are, whatever you celebrate, I hope that you have a beautiful time celebrating it. And let's dive in. Healthy Holidays 101. We're going to talk a lot about fitness. We're going to talk a lot about nutrition, and we're going to talk most importantly with what I'm going to start off with right now. First and foremost, be present with your loved ones. Those can be the family you were born into, they can be your chosen family, whomever they are. Be with them, be present with them. Looking back over my lifetime, I wouldn't say that it's something I regret, but it definitely is one of the biggest things that I've ever learned from is that whether I was in a holiday in the midst of an unhealthy addiction, like when I was drinking or when I was binge eating, etc., or on the opposite side of the spectrum, when I was being incredibly obsessive about my health or orthorexic, as the kiddos say. So when I was keto, when I was calorie counting, when I was gluten and dairy and grain free, when I was scale obsessed. Not that any of those things in moderation are inherently bad, but for me, in the way I approach them, they consumed my entire brain space. They were all I could think about. Point is, whether it was a super quote unquote unhealthy trait or on the surface something that was like a healthy thing to do, I was so hyper fixated on myself during those holidays that I lost out on precious time with loved ones that I'm never getting back. And yeah, I was with them and thank goodness. And I have pictures and I can look back. But when I try to remember those, so much of my thoughts during those times were about my body, about the food, whatever, that I wasn't truly present with people. And the older I get, the more important I realize it is, and the more determined I get to say, shove it where the sun don't shine to diet culture, which is, at least for me, where a lot of this started. And I know for a lot of my clients, let's be real, it's where we probably won't even think about our bodies in this capacity if it wasn't for constantly being told to be smaller, if we weren't constantly sold things to fix ourselves. So, diet culture, that's all I got to say. This year, am pledging to myself that I'm going to ask my family questions and then I'm going to listen instead of being obsessed with what I am or am not currently eating. I'm going to hug the crap, maybe not literally, out of the aunt that I literally only get to see at Thanksgiving. I'm going to hug her a little bit tighter instead of paying so much attention to how fat I feel in my outfit, especially as the meals go on. I'm going to sit around a table snacking on whatever is out there and actually playing oh hell with my family, which can get pretty heated and you really should stay present for, instead of allowing myself to anxiety spiral about how we really should be going for a walk now that we've eaten so that we can stabilize our blood sugar. And oh my God, it's 10 and we're still eating. We should have shut it down at 8. No, no, no. I'm going to be present this year. And I hope you do the same because we get one shot at this lifetime. And I've heard it said in every possible way. And especially when I was younger, I thought it was pretty cheesy, but it's so true, right? When we are in our final days, we're not thinking about the calories we ate or the money we made or even our best PRs. I mean, maybe like a little bit. We throw it out as a brag, but hopefully we're surrounded by family, either those chosen or the ones we were born with, and we're celebrating those memories that we've created together that make the life we lived the fullest life possible. So, surprise, surprise. If you've been around this podcast before, this holiday health 101 isn't going to leave you with how you should weigh every single bite you take or do a 90-minute lift session in the morning to off or stimulate glucose uptake into your muscles. And it's not going to tell you to do a 20-minute zone 2 walk after every meal to restabilize your blood sugar, right? It's something much gentler, much more sustainable, and something that allows us to be much more present in this lifetime. Health, as I always say, is something that we are working on over a lifetime. The way we care for our bodies and for our health is cyclical. We spend most days, weeks, months dialed in and building a foundation so that when we have 3 weeks of travel abroad, or a week, 2 weeks of illness, or a crazy month of work where we're literally living off of cafeteria salads and something that's labeled some kind of meat, and the only thing we have energy for is like parking our car a little bit further away and maybe taking the stairs, or holidays with families, etc. Whatever the case may be, whatever that comes up, we have that constant or rather consistent bedrock of health that we've been building up to support us until the cycle shifts again and we're back in the foundation building phases. Fitness, nutrition, health tools, like all of life, are cyclical, seasonal, if you will. It's really normal to feel a bit of a slowdown during the holidays. And shoot, Cookie Man, we were not designed as humans to go 24/7, 365. No animal was. No animal in nature does, right? Ancestrally, our whole livelihood was dictated by the seasons, even more so in a way when agriculture took center stage. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit in the weeds. But my big piece of advice starting out is that a truly healthy life is a balanced life and a life surrounded by community, which we'll talk about on a later date, not today. But boom, when we're thinking about balance and community, it turns out that the holidays are actually really important practices for a healthy, balanced, community centered life. Like I said, community is an incredibly big topic, which we will talk about at some point. But for now, let's get into other ways to keep our holidays healthy 101. First piece, mindset. Be with your family, be present. So, we're trying to embrace and enjoy even the balance. And like I said, just it could be as simple as hugging the people you love. Life moves really fast and it can easily get away from us. So, cherish the time and the people you have. Okay, I know. Here, yeah, let's move on to the more practical stuff. And to be honest, I love this stuff too. But I do just want to say before we dive in, without this initial mindset we just talked about, this practical stuff isn't really that helpful because it can just be another tool that turns into ruminations and opportunities to kick ourselves all day long. So let's go ahead and shift into the fitness side of things. We will talk a little bit about fitness and then we'll talk about the nutrition side of things. So, with movement, a little goes a long way. Deload periods, periodized programming. Any trainer worth their salt will tell you if you are going hard, if you're doing the same intense workouts all year long, you are leaving gains on the table. We need to have those deload and reload periods. I'm not saying to have to like meticulously program your workout so that every single holiday magically lands on a deload. If you do, that's amazing. Or if you're like me and you don't, because calendars are hard and they pop out of nowhere, it feels like, just give yourself a break. Just take a break on the days. Like I always say and have already said today, fitness is a lifelong journey. So this goes back to all of our regular principles, right? Fitness isn't about how hard we crush it each and every day. It's about consistency. It's about quality over quantity. All of these little boring pieces seemingly that fall in and slot into place that make fitness less grandiose and crazy and more just like, yeah, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, I do my strength training. I try to hit 8,000 steps a day. I put my protein first, right? There are these little pieces that fall into place over time. That's what this is about. We also don't lose gains in a day, in a week, or even in weeks, right? I went to Greece and Paris with my mom and my sister this summer. Shout out because they were a blast to travel with. We had an amazing time. And I had no access to a gym. Technically, I did in Paris, but when we were our 2 weeks in Greece, we were in this tiny coastal village of 125 people. They didn't have a gym, and I didn't even know where to find the closest one. So, I ran once, and I did yoga 3 times, and I did some air squats and push-ups, but I was not doing my strength training program by any means, and you know what? Some magic things happened, things that even I needed to learn for myself. Because trainers, we know things because we work with our clients over well, first we learn them, and then we see them put into practice with our clients where we see things like deloads and periodized programming and rest days really pay off for our clientele. And then we have to force ourselves to do them because we're humans too. It can be scary to look down the barrel at 3 weeks of not being able to stay in a routine. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And I did have moments of fear, of course. But at the end of it, looking back now, months later, too, I was able to enjoy the F out of my trip because I wasn't trying to shoehorn in workouts or panic because I didn't do my workout that day, right? I was just hanging out and trusting the process that I preach. I was fully present in my travels because I wasn't exhausted from workouts. When people brought me amazing food, I ate it and I enjoyed it and I laughed and it was shared over dinners with friends and new friends because I was able to make friends with the locals. And this was a wonderful thing I had never experienced. And the cherry on top, when I got back, I both felt great in my body and I objectively looked great in my body. Did anything probably change? No, not really, but that's another thing, right? 3 weeks didn't change my body shape in any way, but I was able to rest and I was able to fill my world with other things. I spent a ton of time outside, which is so important for our health and happiness, that I just felt confident in my body. And when I did get back to my workouts after that trip, I was so rested that sure, I wasn't like starting off the bat, just getting right back to my PRs, but my nervous system was firing in a way it hadn't in years because I had given it the rest and relaxation. Because that's the other thing. I did not set alarms on this trip. Chef's kiss. Point is, rest is incredibly important as a part of our programming when we're looking at fitness over a lifetime, especially early, well, always, but especially early on. Because I think we'll talk about it in a second, but there's this preconceived notion that like I have to earn rest days, or like if I take a rest day here, I might not ever get back to it. Take your rest day and enjoy your holiday. For those of us, like I said, who are worried that missing a day or a week or 3 weeks means that we're going to fall off our program, I've said it before and I'll say it again. This all or nothing thinking is burnout mentality. And I've seen it so many times over the past 12 plus years that I've been coaching. Folks come in, especially in group fitness settings, right? Folks come in, they're ready to go hard. They're super excited by this newfound fire, and I love it. They're getting in the gym, they're feeling great. They're maybe even starting to see some changes in their body. They're feeling more energetic. And then suddenly, after not taking any rest days and not giving themselves any downtime, one or two things inevitably happens to about 98% of us who start this way. One, we get injured and we have to take time off of working out. We haven't at that point had time to really build the foundation of consistency. So when we technically can work out again, we either aren't able to reignite that fire because we just keep thinking about how exhausting it was and how we don't have the energy, or even worse, we decided because we injured ourselves working out really the quote unquote incorrect way that fitness isn't for us. And then we never try again, or it takes us years to decades down the line to be brave enough to walk back in a gym. And the second thing is maybe we don't injure ourselves, but we just straight up burn out because every day of working out, especially if that's where we're jumping in, is hard at best, impossible at most to sustain. Because of course it burns us out, right? We are literally frying our nervous system and our bodies when we're go, go, go nonstop. We learn in this capacity also to develop a relationship with fitness, one that explains fitness as and drills in that muscle memory to our nervous system that fitness is incredibly hard and that we were able to do it once and it was really cool, but we can never do it again because it was just we were able to do our 7 days a week of CrossFit, even like 5 days a week of CrossFit when we were in our 30s because I didn't have kids yet and I was able to go into work at 8 so I could do my 6 a.m. and shower, right? We have all of these parameters around why we were able to do it then and this belief that it has to be that hard. So now as our life gets fuller, as we start to get more tired, as all these external stressors come on, we look back and we go, yeah, it was great for then, but it just doesn't apply to me now. And that is heartbreaking because that is not what true health and fitness is about, right? It is about consistency and getting and maintaining muscle on your frame, which we've talked about time and time again, can be done in as little as 2 hour-long sessions a week starting out. So, fitness, especially starting out, is I find I hate to paint things in black and white, but I truly believe it's best approached as a tortoise and hare situation. So, one option when you get to your holidays is just a full stop break with your workouts. Maybe that's just the day of the holiday, or maybe it's the whole week. There isn't a bad choice. Before Marcus and I ever met, when I would go home for the holidays, I wouldn't work out. And it was fine. I'd get back to my routine as soon as I was done. When Marcus and I started dating, I was always not he is very consistent, so we would travel and he would do body weight workouts, and at first I was kinda like, "Man, these are my weeks where I don't have to do this," and to be fair, at that point, my approach was still pretty aggressive. I was working out, I would say, probably too much with the wrong styles of workout. I was really burning the candle at both ends. So, of course, when I thought I was gonna have a week off, it didn't feel good to work out. Now, like, we're visiting family. I do like a little bit of strength training. I do a lot more yoga. We walk a lot. But the point is, we've now like found this happy middle for both of us. The point is, there isn't a bad choice. I've done it all. It's fine. I've had clients do it all. It's fine. Because just because we aren't lifting those weights or hitting our favorite 5 a.m. workout class, it doesn't mean that we've stopped moving, right? Like I said, a little goes a long way. And honestly, my go to movements for the holidays, if you guessed walking, you were right. My family's tradition on Turkey Day is to we have a couple, but we pop the turkey in the oven in the morning and then we go on a walk around the lake. And then when we come home to the warm house, it smells like Thanksgiving and it is just like the perfect sense and stimulus to really start the day on like a cheery note. And let's be real, we also like eat 1 to 8 cinnamon rolls because those are my favorite food besides popcorn. The other thing to keep in mind is that if you are the person who is prepping in any way, right? So maybe you're cleaning the house, preparing food, doing dishes afterwards, whatever it is, these are all forms of NEAT, non exercise activity thermogenesis, which we've talked about a lot and can be responsible for up to 30% of our daily energy expenditure. For a lot of us, especially on the mornings of a holiday, we get more NEAT than on an average day. Do you ever get to the end of your Thanksgiving or whatever the holiday is, sit on the couch and go, man, my dogs are barking? Translation, my feet hurt. Yeah, because remember, the average American gets an average of 3,500 steps a day, which is why I always say that one of the biggest levers we can focus on outside of the gym during our day to day life is increasing our steps gradually. And I do a couple podcasts on the importance of walking and how to get more NEAT in our day. I'll go ahead and pop those in the show notes if you want to dive a little deeper. But the point here is there's a chance that a lot of us, we might get like 3,000, 4,000 steps, but because we're vacuuming and plate setting and dishwashing and moving and prepping and doing all these things, our step count might just naturally go up to that 6,000 because we're doing more movement in our day. So you kind of get this bonus movement right off the bat. Walks after meals are also a perk, but again, please, please, please do not feel beholden to them in any way that makes you want to miss out on what's going around you, right? The beauty of that like 20-ish minute post-meal walk, it is a wonderful way to stabilize blood sugar, but also a maybe like holiday health way to look at it is that it gives you a boost of energy to keep going a little longer into the evening as opposed to that post-dinner crash where we fall asleep and we miss out with family anyway. And I love walks because it gives you a really lovely opportunity to connect with your family, right? Bring them on the walks and walk, baby, walk, which actually brings me into the next holiday hack. Get your family involved if they want to, right? We're not forcing, especially little ones, because I feel like when we think about our own childhood, the things that we grew up with the most disdain for were the things that were forced upon us. And yes, there's like a healthy balance, right? Of like, and this goes with loved ones too, of just being like understanding the importance of why we're doing it and then letting them make decisions for themselves. Point is, try to get your family involved. My aunt was always the one to initiate our post turkey walk. And I can't say this enough. I was not a sporty child. I did love to move and I loved the opportunity to be active with my family. And I loved that she did this. But I always looked forward to that walk. A, because I thought it was hilarious that all the adults would gang up on her and tease her for walking when you could just sit and not do that. But B, we would get outside. We were in Minnesota, right? At this point, too, when I was a kid, it was probably had snow on the ground at this point. So the air was crisp. There was snow on the ground. It felt like the holidays. Everything was magical. The stars were out. The snow has like that glitter to it. And on top of it, the conversation that we had was always giggly, right? It was this time where we would just come and we'd like tease and laugh and have fun with our family in ways that maybe when they were busy preparing the meals or when everyone's too tired to talk, there's just a certain energy that goes into walks and talks. There's not much to do other than keep moving forward and have these conversations. So I just never felt I didn't have words for this, but looking back, I never felt closer to my family than when we were on these walks. And like I said, afterwards we had that spike of energy so we could keep the party going when we got home. I also generally like to do a little bit of yoga. Not always, but that is my go-to. And I'm like, I kind of want to move my body, but I really don't want to strength train today, especially if it's like a holiday. I want to have whatever. My mother-in-law is great at initiating yoga. She is amazing at it. Even if I don't want to, she makes me excited about it. And I never regret taking 15 to 45 minutes on the mat in the morning or evening, whenever, right? It's yoga is one of those things where I kind of drag my feet sometimes getting into it, and then afterwards I'm like, "Oh, I really should start yoga I should do it every day. I should do it every day." And I'm not talking like the hardcore vinyasa flows with tons of chaturanga and single arm balances, things that I do love and are athletically very pleasing. But these are things like just a good old fashioned moving meditation, right? You're breathing, you're moving, you're stretching, you get an inversion, you're getting these twists. It feels very energizing in a gentle way. All these heart and hip openers, right? They're just energetically very opening. Not to mention that like, all the folds, all the twists are very good for a digestive system. Again, not in like a I must fix my digestive system, just like it is very good for us to bring blood flow to the gut. But and it also brings some really much needed and lovely multiplanar movement into our skeleton. So that is another really important thing about yoga, especially because once I'm done with my yoga and once I'm done with my prep and once I'm done with all the stuff that requires moving, I'm a big fan of the chill, chill the rest of the holiday. So it feels good to just kind of get started with a little bit of blood flow. And again, brings blood flow to your brain so you're waking up nicely. Getting the family involved is a wonderful way to take care of our bodies gently without having to isolate ourselves with some like butt busting crazy workout in our garage while everyone else is inside by a fire storytelling and giggling without you, right? It makes it so that we can kind of check all the boxes. We're moving our body, we're being gentle, and we're spending time with family. It also is really fun to do yoga with family who hasn't done yoga. Don't be mean, but there is a lot of opportunity for like giggling when people are trying to find their way into poses. It's like solo twister. To me, maybe this isn't obvious yet, but maximizing time with loved ones is what we need to focus on and what we need to fill our cups most. There is a unique thing that happens at holidays and things like weddings that doesn't happen the rest of the year, right? We get this pocket of family time that in this day and age, tech the world allows us to be very separate, and there are a lot of benefits. You can get up and you can move anywhere. And when you live there, you can call and you can Zoom and you can be together, but you're not really together. So when you are in a space together, make the most of it because that is a special thing. The last little thing I'm going to say on fitness is something I already touched on, but remember, this is not falling off of progress. This is part of a holistic journey that lasts a lifetime. When the holidays are over, you don't have to kill it extra hard in the gym and make up for the holidays, right? This isn't how our bodies work. Again, the whole reason we make consistent or we make fitness and nutrition achievable and more of a no-brainer is so that we can stay consistent. So after the holidays, just go back to your program as usual and get back to where you left off. No extra cardio required. And I forgot to mention in the family piece, there are some families that love to lift together. So I'm not saying like, don't you dare lift. Like, if you love to lift, lift. There's a chance Marcus and I will because his parents have a barbell right here. So who knows? That wouldn't be my first choice. But if Marcus is like, I'm going to go lift, I'll probably go just so I can spend time with him. Point is, be with family, please. Do what makes you happy. The point is, don't feel beholden to having to do something that day. Do what makes you happy. And if moving and lifting weights makes you happy that day, I'd love that. If you don't want to, get back to it when the holidays are over. And the last little like footnote, if you're like me and your brain gets itchy when you're nearing the end of the day and you've clocked under 10,000 steps, take your freaking watch off and enjoy the day. You can pop that sucker on tomorrow. I force myself to do it, and I mean force. Because listen, everything I share, especially mindset pieces, are things that I've had to learn and practice myself. And for as much as I'd love to be super chill and not let my leggings get in a bundle if I don't hit 10K, it's a mindset thing that I'm still working on, right? So for me, if I know I'm not going to be moving a lot, I just take that piece out of it and I leave my watch behind. I don't need it. I don't need it for that day. It's why I didn't wear a watch for a really long time and now I just have created a healthy boundary around it. Okay. Yay for fitness. Let's go ahead and chat nutrition. So, same goes for fitness as it does for nutrition, right? Or for nutrition as it does for fitness. Ideally, when we take those little boring daily steps with our nutrition, right? Are hitting 1 gram of protein per ideal pound of body weight, 25 grams of high quality fiber. We're hydrating. We're getting all sorts of fruits and veggies and plants and spices that make our microbiome happy. We're not only building a stronger, healthier, more vibrant body, we're also building a more resilient body and metabolism. So just like fitness and all of our quote unquote progress doesn't just fly out the window the second we crush a Costco pumpkin pie to prove to our cousin for $6 that we can do it. And then when you eat it and you're like, look how amazing I am. They're like, I'm sorry, I forgot my wallet. I'll have to give you that $6 sometime else. And you're like, maybe you could Venmo it to me. Anyway, that's not the point of this. The point is, you can do that. You can crush that pie. I'm not telling you to eat a whole Costco pumpkin pie because that hurts. But if you do it once, twice a year, guess what? This is not going to be the metabolic deciding factor. And obviously, body's body is different. If you're newer to this journey and you're still working to regulate your blood sugar, this probably isn't the best choice for you for other reasons, right? Because you're going to feel that crash. You're going to feel awful in so many ways physically, which, to be fair, like, let's just say I've done this Costco pie thing in the past. I never finished it and felt amazing. But the point is, for some of us, there are physiological things that actually make us need to be a little bit more conscious of what and how we consume at the holidays. It's just something to be mindful of going in, that there is a tendency to approach the holidays with a very black and white, all or nothing thinking, where we label foods as good and some label food as bad. And if we're doing that, probably a lot of the food we see is bad. And that's really scary. And not only now are we not able to eat and we're kind of suddenly like robbing ourselves from these yummy things that we could have had, we're just in this spiral of thinking about food, which is bringing us in, and our family is on the outside, right? That's one way to really isolate. And again, when we're talking about these foods, these are probably foods that for most of us, especially if we're building that foundation outside of the gym, outside of these holidays where we are getting pretty consistent, these are things we're really only going to have at this time of year. And like we don't have Costco pumpkin pies unless it's Thanksgiving. It's just not something our family has in our house. So one or two times a year, not gonna be that crazy. And again, if it's all we're thinking about, when you look back on that night, chances are you aren't thinking about getting ribbed by your mom or teasing your cousin or laughing about stories about your grandma that you'd never heard before from your uncle, right? You're either shaming yourself for eating something or you're wishing that you did. And that's really sad. And I say that with deep empathy. I'm saying that as someone looking back on my life. I feel sad about that. And I hear you. It really doesn't work for all of us to, or I'm so sorry, moderation. Because that's one thing that I think we hear a lot is that just everything in moderation. And if that's something we're comfortable with and capable of, amazing. That's a wonderful way to approach things. And this is what I was saying was that I also intimately understand that that's not how it works for all of us right now. Sugar, especially, is deeply addictive and has been proven time and time again to be deeply addictive in the same way that alcohol was. There's never been a time in my life where I could just have a glass of wine and stop and be like, well, that's good. I'm happy here, right? It's like a switch gets flipped and all my therapy goes out the window. And suddenly I'm waking up in a bathtub covered in Thanksgiving, dying of a headache, right? And I've lost the night because I can't stop drinking when I have alcohol. Some of us have an equally real sensation happen when we ingest sugar. This flip switches and we have this inability to stop. And this is not to judge ourselves because you are not alone. It's just to bring awareness to how we're approaching the night. Even if you're not someone who has trouble in that sense with sugar, but you're just worried for any reason going into the holidays, let's talk about some strategies. One, make a plan going into it. We've all been through Thanksgivings, for example, probably. If you haven't, it's gonna be a little harder. But if you've been through Thanksgiving, you have a pretty good idea of what things are gonna how it's gonna go down, right? We even probably know, like, to the person what dish is gonna be there. We know what kind of food it's gonna be. We know the kind of environment we're gonna be in. We're gonna know what's available and what's not available. So go in knowing what to expect. If you have celiac and are gluten free, if you are lactose intolerant, if you're on a low FODMAP diet, if you have other food allergies and you know that there are going to be a lot of foods that are mostly unavailable to you, find a fun recipe, make it and bring it. And you better believe there are so many recipes out there these days. One of my favorite sites to look on is theroastedroot.net. She has options for all sorts of food allergies and she does a really good job of categorizing them. So low FODMAP. I think it's like there's a nightshade free one, keto, paleo, all the things you can search. I just made a really good gluten free butternut squash lasagna last night, and it was 10 out of 10 a hit with everybody. Point is, make something and bring it so you know you have something fun to eat. And it doesn't have to just be like, I don't love salads. So it doesn't have to just be like a salad, right? It could be a gluten free butternut squash lasagna. Point is, have it for yourself, plan ahead of time. And if you have a good relationship with your family and they're understanding and you don't feel uncomfortable or pressured when you're with them, bring it up ahead of time with them. So you guys can maybe all do a little bit of meal prep. I went a really long time where I was gluten free, dairy free, grain free. I was like pretty hardcore paleo. Um, and I talked to my mom ahead of time, and she is incredibly supportive, and she made 2 types of stuffing, one that my dad would like and one that I could eat, and it was amazing. Not everyone's gonna have that, but it's worth bringing up because at the very least, I'm not saying make your parents, like, make multiple meals, but maybe you could talk about options as well. So, that's one thing, plan ahead. 2, Plan on enjoying yourself. Just make that plan ahead of time. Decide that you're going to go into this, recognize, say, I know that I have these feelings around food, and I'm going to use this as exposure therapy to practicing having fun anyway. Take the day, if you feel comfortable, leave your calorie counting and weighing behind. And when you put the good in your mouth, enjoy it. No, I'm not even telling you to do the whole chew 932 times and imagine a forest full of dough and fairies while you're doing it. Although chewing our food is really important for our digestion and it goes a long way. But the point is when you have a fear response, pause, take a beat and say, I'm going to enjoy this pumpkin pie. And instead of panicking about the calories the second that it hits your lip, take a moment in that bite to enjoy how freaking good it tastes. Like literally like take a moment, close your eyes and be like, yes, these are the things I'm tasting. This is amazing. Being present while we're eating, slowing down our eating and savoring, and maybe even adding a few extra bites goes a really long way. A trick here is to like just set your fork down between bites and just enjoy the dang thing. And this isn't a punishment or a rule, it's a mindset trick that's worth bringing, I should say, into all of our life, which is just slow down and enjoy. That conscious eating was actually something that I got when I was an eating disorder outpatient. We were practicing. It's so wild to think of our phases, right? We were practicing how to eat without being afraid, and we would take bites and we would just tune into the food. And it was something between repatterning the food, eating it in front of a person. There were just so many little pieces that slowing down was so helpful to just be present with the food because it really is worth honoring the fact that there is a lot of emotion tied to food. There's a lot of emotion tied to eating. Like there's just nutrition can be really tricky and a lot of things, even if we feel like we've sort of moved past some of our deeper fears, things can flare during the holidays, right? Maybe there's trigger things, maybe just being around our family is a trigger. Maybe we have families who comment on our bodies. There's so many things that are really wonderful. And then on the other side, so many things that are stressors that we also don't have to deal with in everyday life. So again, plan for that as well. If you have someone in your family who always comments on your body, first of all, feel free to set that boundary and tell them to stop commenting on your body. But also, I get it. There are some family members you couldn't pay me to tell that kind of conversation to. So just know they're going to say it and know that that says more about them than it says about you, right? People who comment on people's bodies are not doing it because they're thinking about your body. It's because they're deeply uncomfortable in their own. So they comment on others. Okay, that went down a rabbit hole. Point is, slow down and enjoy. It's another way of being present. The third one is more of like the probably fork down is pretty practical tip. This one is also practical tip. Protein first. And I do, of course, really want to emphasize that I don't want your whole holiday spent around food rules, shoulds and shouldn'ts, etc. But protein first is a helpful rule of thumb in everyday life as well to help you hit protein goals. So the TLDR version is finish the protein on your plate before diving into the rest of the food on your plate. It helps you get your protein in before you're too full, especially on a day like Thanksgiving. And it can be helpful with overeating because protein does help us feel sated. So that's a great way to just to sort of like prepare if you want to hit your protein. Obviously, like adding things that are colorful to your plate is always a beautiful way to support your health. But if everything on your plate this holiday season is brown, again, probably tomorrow it won't be. So just like when we get back after the holidays to our workouts, and I told you to just go back to your programming as normal, don't try to like throw in any crazy calorie burns. Same with food. After we're done with the holidays, don't starve yourself to try to make up for the calories, quote unquote, that we ate during the holidays. Just return to your programming as normal. Back to your way of life of eating, of getting our protein, of getting our quality fiber, of doing our best to have whole foods, right? So we never have to compensate. That too really brings us punishing mindset. And when we're thinking of things over a lifetime, the easiest way to make something either unattainable or just miserable is to make it punishing. And food is fuel, movement is medicine. These are things that should be supportive and beneficial to us, not things that we use to find things wrong with us. So, this holiday season, big things, just Plan ahead a little bit if it makes you feel better. It's always harder to hit these things. Sometimes when we're scared, it can be easier to just kinda wanna, like, ostrich, right? We put our head in the sand and just be like, "Well, I guess when I get there, I'll figure it out." Plan. It's okay. Look it in the face. These are the things I'm afraid of, and this is what I can do. Or maybe I don't have to do anything, and I just want to have a really, like, gentle conversation with myself of, "I am gonna eat that Costco pie. It's not gonna change the shape of my body. On Friday, I'm gonna have leftovers. On Saturday, I'm gonna have leftovers. And on Sunday, when I'm probably out of leftovers, I'm gonna take it back to my food as normal, right? Just have those conversations. You we have this incredible ability with perspective to really talk ourselves off of cliffs, but it takes practice. So be your own best friend, plan for the things that scare you, try to find the reality around the situation, be gentle. Remember that this isn't interrupting anything. And most importantly, hug the people you love. Life is fast. We truly have no idea how much time we get with everyone. So enjoy every single moment. All right, team. As always, if you got something out of this podcast, please like, share, leave a 5-star review. And if you have less than 5 stars, let me know in an email and I will send you other podcasts to check out. I adore you all. Happy, happy holidays. Hug the people you love. See you next time. Take care of your beautiful bodies and brains because you're so stinking worth it. Aroo. All right, my YouTube. We are going to do just our one little joke and then I'm going to send you off to enjoy your holiday. Okay. So, what kinds of shows do green beans do? Again, that's what kind of shows do green beans do? Ding, ding, ding. Podcasts. Get it? Pod? Like a green bean pod? No? All right. Anywho, thank you for being here. I hope you have a magical holidays. Like I said, whatever you celebrate, whatever you do, hug your loved ones, and I'll see you next week. Aroo.